Welcome to the Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Program's training on administering the Summer Food Service Program. This training will discuss the administrative reviews conducted by ODE CNP. In this session, you will find information on an overview of the review steps, review procedures, review documents, examples and consequences of review findings, and how to create a corrective action plan. During the course of the summer, ODE CNP will complete an administrative review of many SFSP sponsors program operations. The administrative review will involve visits by ODE CNP personnel to the sponsor's sites and office. The reviews are designed to ensure that a sponsor's overall program is operating according to requirements and to provide technical assistance to a sponsor if there are questions about program operations. These reviews are an opportunity for ODE CNP to visit SFSP sponsor sites, build relationships, as well as to ensure the integrity of the program. This is a brief overview of the administrative review process. This is not an all-inclusive list of activities that may occur during an administrative review, but it does give an idea of what to expect. First, if the review is announced, ODE CNP will contact the sponsor to announce the administrative review. ODE CNP does not contact sponsors more than 4 weeks in advance for announced reviews. Given the short time frame SFSP operates in, less notice may be given. After the review is confirmed, the sponsor will receive an administrative review confirmation letter detailing documents that may be requested during the review. This list may not be all-inclusive, but it does give the sponsor a starting point for preparing for the review. Each year, ODE CNP is required to conduct a certain number of unannounced reviews. If the sponsor is selected to receive an unannounced review, ODE CNP staff will arrive at the address indicated as the main office by the sponsor without prior notice. In both instances of reviews, ODE CNP staff will conduct an entrance conference with the sponsor staff upon arrival. The entrance conference typically includes the food program coordinator and authorized representative if available. After the entrance conference, the administrative review will begin and look in depth at the administration and operation of the sponsor's summer meals program. The review will not only include a review of requested documents, but site reviews as well. Site reviews include a meal observation. Sponsor staff is not required to devote their entire day to ODE CNP staff while on site, but sponsor staff should be available as needed to meet with ODE CNP to address review questions that may not be answered readily by documentation. At the conclusion of the on-site portion of the administrative review, an exit conference will be held with sponsor staff to detail observations and, if applicable, findings from the review. If the sponsor has findings, corrective action plans may be required to be implemented and submitted to ODE CNP prior to the close of the review. ODE CNP's review of site operations will involve observing the meal service operations and the record keeping at the site. A review at the sponsor level will include how the claim for reimbursement is assembled and a meal claim verification. If the review is conducted prior to a claim being submitted, the reviewer will request documents to be submitted for review prior to the claim being paid. There will also be review of other records maintained by the sponsor. Regardless of the specific administrative review procedures, all sponsors must make their records available for the ODE CNP reviewer and must implement all corrective actions recommended by the ODE CNP reviewer. The results of an administrative review may affect the amount of reimbursement a sponsor will receive. At the conclusion of the review, ODE CNP reviewers may leave 2 types of documents with sponsor staff. The first is the review finding summary form. This form will detail findings that were observed during the administrative review, required corrective actions, and the due dates for corrective actions. The recommendations form includes not only recommendations for operating a successful summer meal program, but also commendations recognizing areas the sponsor excels in. When ODE CNP conducts a review, the reviewer will identify areas that are not in compliance with SFSP regulations. Areas not in compliance are considered to be findings. Findings include but are not limited to failure to maintain adequate site or sponsor records, failure to adjust meal orders to conform to changes in site attendance, failure to have trained site staff at each site during the meal service, serving meals that do not include all required components or correct quantities, serving more than one meal to a child at one time, and children eating complete meals off-site. Note, this does not refer to the permissible practice of allowing children to take a piece of fruit or vegetable or grain off-site. A more detailed list of program findings are located in the USDA Administrative Guide for Sponsors. Depending on the severity of review findings, they may result in the withholding or recovery of reimbursements, temporary suspension, or termination and exclusion from future program participation. When ODE-CMP identifies findings during a review, they will require a sponsor to correct the problems found. If ODE-CMP finds a high level of meal service findings at a site, the reviewer may immediately require the sponsor to follow a specific corrective action plan. The ODE-CMP reviewer will initiate a follow-up system to ensure that the sponsor takes specific action as outlined in the plan for correcting the finding. The sponsor will generally be required to write a corrective action plan that states what processes or procedures will be implemented to correct the finding, how the institution will make sure the processes or procedures are followed consistently in order to prevent future findings, who is involved in implementing the processes or procedures developed to correct the finding, and when the processes or procedures will begin and how often will the process or procedure be done. The sponsor may be required to submit supporting documentation which verifies that the corrective actions were made or implemented. Examples of documents which might be required to be submitted include training documentation, site monitoring reports, and meal count forms. The corrective action plan developed by the sponsor must permanently correct the findings identified during the review. In the SFSP training session titled Common Review Findings, an in-depth discussion is provided on selected findings, why they are a finding, and how to correct the finding. The intent of the training on common review findings is to help sponsors operate a successful SFSP. In summary, this session discussed an overview of review steps, ODE-CMP's review procedures, review documents, provided examples and discussed consequences of review findings, and how to create a corrective action plan. An in-depth discussion of this topic is located in the USDA SFSP Administrative Guidance for Sponsors. If you have any questions regarding this session, please contact your assigned specialist. Thank you for participating in the ODE-CMP SFSP presentation on administrative reviews. Thank you for all that you do to fuel Oregon's future.